So I want to ask you a few spoiler questions that are going to run after the film is out, but you have some great cameos, and I want to ask specifically about them.
Yeah.
So anyone who's listening who has not seen the film, earmuffs. But let's talk about the Ryan Reynolds one. Yeah. Was that a result of Chris doing Free Guy?
The short answer is yes. I mean, that's what I understand it. So we were always trying to get Ryan to come in. He was going to play one of the bounty hunters, in fact. You know, there's that sequence with John and Anthony and Sebastian. Sure. And he was going to be one of those guys, but it turned out he couldn't do it. He had a commitment. He said, but I'm absolutely committed to coming and doing what. So then we started thinking about it, and the writer said, well, wouldn't it be funny if one of these bounty hunters in the big shootout at the end was an ex of Sadie's, which was just a great idea. So he came on the day that he came, and I went in the trailer just to chat about the scene and what the idea was, because he essentially kind of came up with that idea for, you know, what he says. And I was like, it's so great you're doing it. He was like, look, when I needed Evans, I picked up the phone. I didn't really know him that well then. I was like, will you come and do it? He was there the next day. And he said, so I'm all in for when Chris picks up the phone, I'm there. And it's not kind of like a thing of you owe me something. I think it's just about we're all trying to do the best we can. We want to make good films. We want to make films that people enjoy and want to see and will hopefully watch again. And I think the industry is actually quite small, and there's no givens, there's no guarantees. It's hard to make something good. And if everyone can contribute to that, and generally people are nice. And Ryan Reynolds is a nice guy. He's a good guy. So him and Chris are like, now they'll play this tennis game of, well, you owe me and I owe you and you owe me, and maybe long may it continue, I say.
Yeah, and Ryan is also very good at coming up with dialogue and writing in the moment.
I mean, the outtakes on that really got. I mean, it was like I could have made that scene much, much longer. I really had to make a really brutal decision about I got to cut some of this down because there's the action is going on. She's sort of stopped to. Fortunately she has that bullet wound, and anyway, but yeah, he did this whole thing about driving. I'm a really good listener now. I drive a really sensible minivan, and I'm a really good listener. And he sort of went into this whole speech about. Anyway, you can imagine it was very good.
Sure. I also want to touch on the sequence. When I saw the film for the first time, I didn't know what was going to happen, obviously. You hadn't heard anything. And that sequence with Anthony, Sebastian, and John all getting, killed. And the thing, it's a great sequence, but it's also fantastic because of the actors portraying the bounty hunters. Yeah. So can you talk about getting those three guys in the film and how that all came about?
Well, again, that was in the script. There was different names in the script, but Reese and Wernick had written in, it should be this person, and the second bounty hunter should be this person, and it ended up with being a huge star at the end, and so that was in there. That was always the idea, but I approached it as like, how important is this to the story? How important is and really what it's about is, for me, as the storyteller, is about, the world they're in is dangerous. There's a very real threat, and they are now hunted. That's what's really important. So that, as moving forward, is how I directed the sequence. I just happened to have these incredible actors who were willing, when Chris picks up the phone to Mackie and goes, get yourself down here, and Mackie turns up and says, oh man, if I'd known it was at night time, I would have said no, which is it's cool because he turns up for a night, to Atlanta and does the scene. It's brilliant. But I just think it speaks to their friendship, And John was someone I just always admired and wanted to work with, and it was a name that I just threw out there as someone I thought would be really great. And they came back and went, he's agreed. So I was like, and Sebastian I know a bit as well, and of course Chris does, but he was just there instantly. I mean, it was quite unbelievable, really. But knowing them, it's not really unbelievable. I think they're all very excited. And I think they got the gag. They like the gag. I think they like the sequence. Sure. They knew that they were,
How long did it actually take to film that specific sequence with those actors?
One night for each of them. One night.
Oh, wow. So
yeah, there was a little bit of crossover with John. And no, Mackie, it was a different night from John. And Sebastian got COVID the first time we wanted to shoot him, and that's come back at a later date. So that was really tricky, because that made things really. But one, we had them each for a day or a night, and they came in, did it, and went, "Hey, we love you guys. Good luck. Looks great. Bye." And off they went. So that was just, and I think what's lovely, it just, it's a lovely scene anyway. The scene prior to that with Sadie's ex-boyfriend, which I think is very funny and is very good, and he's a fantastic actor, Marwan Kanzari, and it just sort of added to the whole midsection of the film, really.